everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Jackie. I'm going to be doing a book review today on The North Woods by Douglas Hoover. This is a suspenseful horror, mystery, action, slight adventure. It was fantastic. Let me just get right out there and say that before I even start. I would highly recommend this book. We follow three different characters in this story. We follow Wyatt, Siggy, and Doc. Wyatt and Siggy are Marines. Doc used to be, I want to say Navy or Air Force. He's in another branch that's not the Marines. That's all that's important. In the beginning, the guys are over in Afghanistan, and it talks about one of their friends dying over there, and then how every year after that they had the tradition of going to his gravesite and remembering him. And it holds so true that when it first happens, like the first couple years, everybody goes, everybody brings beer, and they get together and they remember and they talk and they share stories. But as time goes by, less and less people will hold to that tradition, which happens in real life too. Now, as I was reading this or listening to it, because I listened to the audiobook, I didn't know that the author was a Marine. My husband was in the Marines, so sometimes people write about military but don't have any military experience. So I actually went into this thinking that it was a civilian and not a prior service member who was writing. So as you go throughout the story, there are things that he says and he writes about that you're like, oh yeah, no, like that holds true. Like everybody refers to each other by their last name. Like still do that with the guys. Like it's just something that they do. So there are things in there that were nice to see and read, but most of the time it was kind of, it makes you feel sad in a sense, because it talks about in the beginning, you know, their friend died, and then like the next year, one or two of the guys who they deployed with aren't there because they committed suicide. And then the year after that, like another one committed suicide, which that happens. It happens more often than what you would like or what most people would think. It's devastating. It's really sad. So Wyatt had been going every year, and then he stopped. Like he had work, or he had school, he had this, he had that. And then one year he just decided, like, I'm not gonna go. I can't make it. And it made it easier for him to not go the next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. So several years pass by, and he's got his doctorate now. He hasn't talked to the guys in a long time. He only gets, you know, a call or a text message every 6 months from random people in the unit. And they just don't talk like they used to, which is common, unfortunately. So one night, Wyatt gets a call from Siggy, and Siggy is just like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I just don't want to be here anymore. And Wyatt starts to freak out because he knows what this means. And he's like, where are you? And Siggy's like, I'm here. He's like, where's here? And Siggy's like, I'm here. And Wyatt puts it together, and he knows he's at their friend's gravesite. So Wyatt then starts trying to figure out who he can call to help him. Who is near there that can help him? And he finds Doc, who is at least closer than he is, because I think he said it was like an 11-hour drive to get to where Siggy would be. So he gets a hold of Doc. Doc is able to call the cops while Doc's calling the cops to let them know where the gravesite is and what's going on. Wyatt is still calling Siggy, and it's just ringing and going to voicemail, ringing and going to voicemail. Luckily, Siggy was able to live. He did try to commit suicide by overdosing, but the paramedics and the cops got there in time and got to save him. Wyatt and Doc decide that the best thing for Siggy is to get away, get out in nature. Doc calls around to people to see who wants to go with them, who out of the guys in the unit who was deployed with them want to go out to the woods. Basically, no one does. The last person he tries to contact is Crossman, who is still, to their knowledge, in the Marines. And the only way to contact him is through email. So when he contacts them through email, an automatic email comes back to Doc saying that Crossman is out in the woods, way up north in America. He's way out in the woods, and here's the address. I don't have phone service, but if you're one of the boys, you can come and be with me and come hang out. So Doc is like, this is perfect. This is awesome. This is what we need to do. We need to get Siggy out of society, away from all these bad things, and just get him up north. So as soon as Siggy is released from the hospital, Doc is there waiting at the exit and Siggy, hi, yep, long time no see. Get in my vehicle. He gets in his vehicle and they just take off. Wyatt already is up there before Doc and Siggy get there. He drives up there. He has some weird interactions when he gets up there, and he's up at the cabin first and Crossman's not there. A window is broken out by a fallen tree. It's just, he's kind of getting a weird vibe. And a white truck pulls up into the driveway. He can't see who's in the truck because the headlights are on him, but then it peels out of the driveway when they see him. So he runs to his truck and he gets his gun, and then he just sits on the porch and waits from that point on, because he's something's not right here. Something's messed up. And when they get together, it's so well written, but Siggy knows that this is an intervention. It's not his first rodeo. He knows that they're going to sit there and yell at him, cuss at him, cry, try to figure out why he did it, why he's the way he is, why he's an alcoholic and drug addict. Why is he doing this? Why can't he get his shit together? So it's he's testing them for the first 24 hours or so, and Siggy's having a hard time. You know, that it's a trauma bond. It really is. When you're deployed and you go through certain things, it's a trauma bond that you get with the guys, and it's a bond that is not like any other kind of bond anywhere. I've never been deployed, but my husband's been in the military for 10 plus years, and he's been deployed twice to Iraq and Afghanistan. So we talk, even though I understand, I could never fully understand, but I do get where the story and the characters are coming from, at least. So Siggy, when he got out, he had to have felt lonely, because you're with these people 24 hours a day, 360 days a year minus Christmas leave. And even at that, sometimes guys will go with each other back home for Christmas leave or Thanksgiving. They're with each other all the time. So it's a really strong bond. And then to get out of the military and for there to not be that bond anymore is devastating. You see these guys maybe once a year. You talk on the phone maybe 2, maybe 4 times a year. And it's just the very casual, yeah, how's it going? How's the family? How are you doing? Oh, yeah, that sucks. It's just not as, I don't know if authentic's the word for it, but you just don't, you don't feel the same. It's not the same kind of connection as you once had. Siggy just couldn't find his place. So now that they're all together, he's just kind of testing the waters and testing to see what he can get away with. And on top of that, like, he is a user. So if they go out to town, you know, he's trying to look through people's bags in public to see if they have any like weed or drugs or anything like in their bags or in their vehicles. Or when they're at Crossman's cabin, he's searching through the cabinets to try and find liquor or cigarettes or like anything that he can use to numb himself. He's trying to self-medicate so he doesn't have to feel or think anymore. But one night when they're at this cabin, Siggy comes across Crossman's things, like his journal and pictures and a bunch of stuff. And all this time that they've been at his cabin, like, they've kind of been worried about Crossman, like, where the heck is he? So Siggy finds this information and is like, Crossman's in trouble. Like, he went further up north and he hasn't been back yet. And like, no one's heard from him in like at least a week or two, right? Like, we need to go get our buddy. Like, he could be in serious danger. Initially, Wyatt doesn't want to go, but very quickly decides to go with Siggy and Doc to go find Crossman, because it's not going to be an easy trip. It's like they have to go in a canoe for a day, and then they have to hike for who knows how many days to try to find Crossman. So what was initially supposed to be a weekend rehab convention thing now turned into a rescue mission. I, going into this, didn't know exactly what was going to happen. As they're in the woods and they're trying to find Crossman, there's weird stuff that starts to happen. They can hear branches snapping in the distance. There's a strange, nasty smell that Ziggy, could smell. There's what they think is naked people running in the woods. Doc starts to hear things and like hallucinate. There's dead deers that are hanging up in trees with like no blood in them. And the further in they go, the weirder stuff gets. So as it was going, I was like, okay, maybe there's a mountain lion up there. That's plausible. And bears they can be really stinky. Maybe that was a bear. And then like, maybe it's mountain men. Maybe it's feral men. Like, maybe it's one of those things. Because you hear about the stories and like, I think it's like the Appalachians about like the crazy mountain feral men. Like those kind of stories. So I was like, maybe it's, something like that. Maybe it's a cult up in the woods up there that's just all sorts of crazy, because there's cults too. Like, maybe it's cult, maybe it's aliens. Maybe, and another thing, I was like, maybe it's a Wendigo. Because I read another book earlier this year where a Wendigo was involved, and I was like, oh, maybe it's a Wendigo. Like, maybe that's what it is too. So it's not what I thought it was going to be, which was fantastic. And I really liked how just messed up and depraved it got later in the book. The build up to finding out who the bad guy or guys, whatever, the bad thing is. I thought the author did a fantastic job doing the build up to the end, and it just all fit really well. And I really enjoyed reading it. I really enjoyed the story and the outcome, and I liked how it wasn't predictable at the end. I thought this was a fantastic read. It was very interesting. There wasn't any slow points in it. There's always something going on, something interesting and intriguing. I enjoyed going through the different point of views between Wyatt, Siggy, and Doc, and everyone had their own characteristics, their own personality, and it all felt real and authentic. their reactions to situations felt real and logical to me. It didn't feel like something misplaced or strange. It all felt just like it flowed naturally. I will say at the very end, the author has a note talking about if you're prior military, or even if you're current military, and if you're feeling sad and lonely and you're thinking about committing suicide, to reach out to one of your brothers and just call them. Like, do more than just text. Like, if you can drive to them, take a drive. And I think that's important. I know it's hard, and people have different lives, and sometimes people want to move on. But I think it is important for prior military service members to find some sort of support system. There are hotlines too that you can call and get a hold of, but it really is sad how many military members take their own life. If you're having thoughts or feelings of harming yourself, please reach out to somebody or call a hotline and talk to somebody. Sorry. Like I said, the author's note made me cry at the end because it was so sad. It's sad. But I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm going to actually be reading another book by this author because I loved this one so much. So The Accursed Huntsman is going to be the next book that I'm going to read from his. Take care of yourselves. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.